Hey, man, what a great record right there from the Chrome Cranks. The name of the new album is Ain't No Lies in Blood, right here on WUSB Stony Brook. And, and before that, we heard the leadoff track called I'm Trash. And just a spectacular, rockin', swampy record from the Chrome Cranks. We're going to talk a little bit right now with Peter Aaron from the Chrome Cranks. Peter, how you doing?
Okay, how you doing, Finn?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much for being on the air with us.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, the new record is blisteringly great, and it's pretty rare, I think, that a band puts out X number of records early in their career and they do a quote-unquote comeback, which is a word I hate, and I'm sure you don't like. But the record's just absolutely great, and you guys just did a great job with it.
Thanks so much. Yeah, we're really happy with it. It is kind of mind-boggling, isn't it? You know, for a bunch of old men, it's not too bad. Right?
Yeah, and I understand you recorded it pretty quick upstate.
Yeah, we did the whole thing top to bottom in 3 days. Basic tracks and a couple overdubs and final mixing. And we didn't even have to go back and remix anything after that. We were happy with what we emerged with. So, we're still pretty blown away by it at this point.
Yeah, a lot of energy, a lot of fun. Having Kevin McMahon on board, who we've spoken to before actually on the air, who's at the time was producing Titus Andronicus. Certainly, yeah. He seems to move quickly as well, so I guess that worked well for you guys. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, he's phenomenal. Definitely the best engineer that we've ever worked with, co-producer on the record. It kind of was a nice case of symmetry because Kevin used to run sound for us back at different clubs that we played at in New York in the 90s. So he already was pretty familiar with the band. And he actually ran sound at our first show that we did when we started playing again in 2009. So he's kind of been part of it as it's unfolded.
Yeah, natural fit. Absolutely. He sounds, it all sounds like it's, and that's the great thing about the record, I think. The record just sounds, it sounds like it was recorded all at once. I know you guys did overdubs and all the things you do, but it just sounds natural and spontaneous. It sounds like a stage sound.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I mean, Kevin knows us, from mixing us live, but I mean, it basically, for the most part, is a live record. I mean, even most of the vocals were done live in the studio. Kevin's really good at that. He definitely put a lot of thought into it, and besides being familiar with our sound as it is, he, I think, really kind of thought out how he was going to approach it and just really try to capture us as a live band and get something that was reflective of what we do at gigs,
Yeah, and he absolutely captured it, and you guys just played great on it. We'll get a little more into the album in a minute. For those of our listeners that may not be as familiar with your history, tell us how you got started. What brought you guys together originally? What happened?
The other guitar player, William G. Weber, and I started the band in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is where we're both from. And that was like, I want to say 1988. Somewhere around there, we just couldn't really keep a solid lineup together. It was hard if we found musicians to play with that understood what we were trying to do. They were usually in other bands or just not very committal. And so after a couple of years of that, we just decided to kind of go for it and move to New York. And I had been a promoter and booked nightclubs in Cincinnati, and I knew Jerry Teal, our bass player from the Honeymoon Killers, which is a band that he sang and played guitar in. I knew from booking them when they toured through Ohio, and I knew Bob Bird, our drummer. He was in Pussy Galore. He was in Sonic Youth before he was in Pussy Galore, but he came through Ohio when he toured with Pussy Galore. I knew him from that band. And when we got New York, we started playing with Jerry as a bass player and had a couple of different drummers until we got Bob in the band. And then, we kind of really started making albums. Bob wasn't on our first album, but by the time he came out, he was in the band, and we started touring. We made more albums, and we were in Europe a lot, and we just kind of did that hard and heavy for about 5 years straight without taking a break. We managed to get on MTV, one of our videos, which was nice, but, we needed a break from music and a break from each other, and we never really came, and then we just kind of ended up, sort of imploded, and we were out of touch for a few years. And William and I have always been friends. We've always stayed in touch, but the rest of us were not communicating. And then in 2009, a double CD anthology called Diabolical Boogie was released, which was some tunes that we had recorded before we broke up and some rare tracks. And we all kind of got back in touch with each other and decided to be a real hoot to do some gigs. And we booked some shows in the New York area, and then we got offered a really nice paying, high-profile festival in France. So we went and did that, and we decided to, kind of keep it going and thought it'd be great to make a new record. So we did that in 2010 and did some gigs around just before we went in the studio. And, the record came out in the winter, and, here we are.
Well, that was a good encapsulation there, Peter. Diabolical was because I had gotten the second album back when it came out, and Diabolical when it came out just a few years back was just like all those B-sides and stuff were just like blow away tracks. I thought they were great.
Yeah, well, especially some of the tunes on there that we recorded right before the breakup. Like Slow Crash and Love and Sound, and those were ones that were done live we had a studio that we would record in and also rehearse in, and those were done basically as demos, we were hoping to get hooked up with a new label at that point and have more of a budget, and that never happened. But they sounded great, and I just wanted to get them out there in the world, and hadn't even planned on, hadn't figured we'd ever be together again and playing, and so it was pretty great the way all that worked out.
Yeah, wow. But yeah, that's what I mean by those B-sides. The tracks you're talking about is those. We're going to hear a little more of those later on the show, but the rawness of them, that immediacy that you guys managed to capture actually on this record. I think we surpassed ourselves with this record. I really feel like it's it's definitely our most rockin' album yet. I mean, the last studio album that we did before we broke up in '98, which was a record called Love in Exile. Mm-hmm. At that point, we were experimenting more and trying to, sort of push the envelope from the minimal template that we started out with, and we were doing, working in different sounds and different kinds of instrumentation. And, I think it's really cool that we did that. But I thought it really felt like with making a new record that we really need to strip it down to, a real no frills kind of starting point, and it just to show that underneath everything that we've ever done, that's really what we're about. And also as a reaction to most of the other music that we hear nowadays. I mean, I don't really think that there's anybody else doing what we do. I mean, there's some great bands that I think are, in their own way draw from a lot of the same things that we draw from and have a lot of the same, similar artistic goals and similar emotions that they tap into. But, I don't know, it's just, I don't think rocking per se is the be all and end all, but it doesn't seem like anybody really thinks to do that anymore. It's a lot of preciousness and a lot of patched irony in music. I mean, don't get me wrong. All of us in the band love all kinds of different stuff and a lot of more cerebral music, a lot of more
arranged music. But yeah, it just seems like it's a big chunk that's missing, and it's sort of a building block chunk that needs to be there for anything that's more evolved to make sense. You know.
Oh yeah, it's raw. It comes off just a great sound, and but the band is amazingly tight throughout as well. But it just gives that immediate kind of, you're on stage, you're playing, you're in the garage, so to speak, playing. It's got that sound that's just amazing. All right, so you were playing before this record came out. You went upstate and did this masterpiece, really. And how's the crowd reaction been? How's the fan reaction been?
So far, it's been across the board positive. I mean, I think a lot of people are kind of like, be honest, like we are. I mean, sort of, you know, I mean, we just did what we did, and it just comes out, you know. But you know, when I take myself out of the picture and look at it, I think I kind of have the reaction that a lot of people have, just like, how the heck do these guys do this at this point in their lives and career, you know? Maybe being away from it helps keep it fresh.
Yeah.
You know, and also, you know, it's just all kind of really what we know how to do, or it's just kind of a natural thing that we don't put too much thought into things, you know?
That's right. And that's exactly it. What's the line that Westerberg used years ago, something like, you're thinking too much with your head, you know, instead of the gut, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, certain kinds of music, that's exactly what's needed and makes sense, but for rock and roll, I think generally it's not, you know.
Yeah, it's a great record.
I'll be Brian Wilson, you know, I love Brian Wilson, but we're not Brian Wilson.
That's right. And that's Brian Wilson's already Brian Wilson. So you guys should keep doing what you're doing. What's the road story these days? What do you guys what's the schedule?
You know, we don't really have anything planned. Things are kind of unfolding. I mean, we're hoping to get over to Europe, although you know, it's hard for us to, I mean, that's where our market is, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's being that we all live in 4 different states, and you know, a couple of us have, you know, family, job situations that we can't be away from for too long. It kind of limits us. I mean, so we were hoping to get over to Europe, but right now, with the way the economy is, you know, it's so crazy over there. Promoters are really gun shy.
Sure.
Yeah, so we've been kind of looking toward getting on some festival dates, probably more in the summer of 2013, I think. You know, which is a ways off, but you know, we're not trying to conquer the world or you know, have some sort of you know, be at the mercy of the media machine. So things will happen the way they happen. When things happen is when they happen. So we're accepting of that. Outside of that, I mean, we're talking about some New York area shows in probably September, hopefully.
Oh, that'd be great, because obviously my biggest concern is a New York area show.
There you go. Well, that's the main thing, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
be selfish.
We'll see. We definitely like to get back over to Europe, because we always have a great time over there, and like I said, that's seems to be where our biggest fan base is. So,
right. I think that you guys absolutely would, you know, have a bigger chunk here too. If more people get to hear you guys, and we're going to do our part here at the station. So
thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's hard because obviously touring the States, you've got, you know, I mean, we've always did really well in Chicago and San Francisco, L.A., and you know, but it's just the traveling between there is you know, it's kind of like, especially, I mean, gas has gone down a little bit the last month or so, which is great, but I don't see how bands can do it with the cost of gas these days. You know, it's just the whole. I mean, you know, we used to tour and go through smaller towns in the Midwest and places like that, and we had, you know, some great gigs there, but it's just, you know, the big cities are where it's at, and it's getting from where we are to those places. It's one thing kind of negates the other if you follow.
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah, it's the travel. It's a big country.
Yeah, in Europe, the cities are, obviously closer together and a little bit more, people are more aware of us, from a concentrated perspective.
Yeah. How's the dynamic in the band these days? You guys getting along nicely? Are you behaving?
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. I mean, we can really look back and laugh at, kind of the people that we were back in the night. Especially me. I guess I was, this whole persona that I works in a stage situation is totally the place for it. But you're younger and you're kind of a gunslinger and you're trying to assert your presence in whatever you do. You kind of can fall into living that persona around the clock, and I can see now how that would be a difficult thing to be around.
Yeah, well, it could kill you.
Me.
It could kill you too at the time, so you got to watch that. You got to learn to turn it on and off, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
I got to tell you one of the real nice things about this whole record, which you've shown in the past as a singer as well a lot, but more so on this record, is a sense of humor, which I think is incredible on this record. I mean, we were just listening to Rubber Rat and all the little sounds you're making and whatever. Yeah. It's a fun record. It completely rocks, and you guys should be out conquering the world as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, well, we'd love to do that. Yeah, like I said, when we were going for it full bore in the '90s, yeah, it was more about conquering the world. For speaking for myself at this point, I think more well-rounded in what we do, like you said, with the humor and everything. That's a component that maybe would have thought shouldn't be there before, and now see it just strengthens things to have a little bit of that in there.
Oh yeah, they're it's not all. Yeah, it's complete attitude. It's
it reflects the human experience a little bit more universally, I guess. But I'm not out to conquer the world anymore. I don't feel like I have anything to prove. I feel like we do what we do, and we do it well, and we enjoy it, and the people that get it, and that's enough. I'm not trying, and we're not trying to, we don't have any illusions about ever crossing over into the mall demographic or anything. And not that we really ever had that before, but, in the 90s there was a situation where, like I said, we got MTV, and the bands that you never thought in a million years would get signed, and, we see that none of that amounted to anything. But at that time we kind of felt like, wow, we could get to the point where we could only do this, and we wouldn't have to worry about having a day job kind of thing, and we could just be artists and do this, and it's just that's you're obviously you're setting yourself up for a fall if you ever think that, but it's just one of those things you had to go through and learn the hard way, I guess.
But a lot of people never come back after they learn that lesson, and you guys have come back with easily one of the best records of the year, and the rockingest record of the year easily. Peter Aaron, thank you so much for joining us on WUSB Stony Brook, and good luck with everything and the new record and whatever you do, and keep us posted on what's going on as far as gigs, especially in New York, as our audience is New York, and let us know, and best of luck with everything, Peter.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Finn. And the place to find out about stuff is our Facebook page is kind of where we got things going on. So,
right. So just look at Chrome Cranks on Facebook. I'm on there too. So, on the Chrome Cranks page. So you guys definitely want to check it out, and you got all the info on there. Links to music past and present, all kinds of stuff. And it's a great, cool little site. You have a MySpace site too, I think, right?
Yeah, but like everybody else, we don't really do too much of that these days, I'll post things on there, that are big things, but Facebook's just, much more active, but,
Yeah, excellent.
Oh, I'd say both of them, for sure.
Absolutely. Peter, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon. We're gonna crank away, guys, right now with, I don't know, let's see. How about one of my favorite tunes from the record, 50s French Movie, right here on WUSB Stony Brook. Peter, thanks so much.
Thanks so much, man.